Hello, hello. What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Eddie Live Podcast, episode number 245. I am here with the OG of the radio host game, Kamasami Kong. How you doing, my man?
All right, Eddie. Thanks for inviting me to be on your program. It's a real honor.
Oh, man, your voice sounds fantastic. You have that real boomy radio voice. I love it.
You know, it's all about projection and trying to make it sound as good as you possibly can. First, people to go into Eddie's Cantina in Tianmu, get a dinner for two. That's real top 40 kind of DJ stuff. But,
That's wonderful, man. I grew up.
Did that.
We were chatting a little earlier about me growing up listening to the top 40. You know, Casey Kasem, Rick D's. You know, Rick D's weekly top 40. You know,
sure.
I loved it.
Of course, Casey Kasem did that too. Then Rick D's. Rick D's started with a disco song. Did you know that?
I did not know that. No, I did not.
He had a song called Disco Duck. He made a disco song in Atlanta. It was like given the finger to disco music. So he created that little ditty, and believe it or not, I think it became a number one song at one point.
Okay. Oh, really? Oh,
yeah.
That's beautiful, man.
It was terrible. It was painful.
That's funny. It was kind of like, it's like the original disco diss track, maybe, and then it blew up.
That's what it was. You know, he was trying to disco because disco had about run its course by 1979. It was certainly fading out at that time.
Okay. Beautiful, man. So I really wanted to get you on here. First of all, I want to thank you for inviting me on to do the ICRT bit. That was fantastic. I really appreciate that.
And thank you very much for participating. It was our 45th birthday, 45 years since ICRT went on the air back in 1979 after there was a changeover from what originally was a military radio station, AFNT, American Forces New Network Taiwan. That's what it was. Okay. American Forces Network Taiwan.
So when I came here, I've been here for 20 plus years. ICRT was like in its heyday, I believe. And everywhere we went, we would listen to ICRT. It was fantastic. We loved it, man. My wife, as you know, she grew up listening to that. A lot of her English teachers would tell them to, go home, listen to ICRT, call in and stuff like that. So it's really cool. I loved it.
Well, the community was so active and so lively, and we had so many students participating in everything that we did, contests, sing-alongs, promotional activities. It was a centerpiece of Taiwan before the internet, before social media, before TikTok. ICRT was the place you would go to get the latest music, concert information, news, weather, earthquake information. We were the hub for English speakers in Taiwan.
I remember that. That was fantastic. Yeah.
We had a lot of students who were following us. As your wife said, Joe mentioned that her teachers told them to listen to ICRT for free English lessons, right?
Yeah, of course, right? That's fantastic. Yeah. So shout out to ICRT for 45 years.
45 years. And they brought all of us DJs back together. Not all, but many of the original, like, Richie Walker, Rick Monday, Tony Taylor, Dennis Nie, and yours truly.
Of course. Yeah. It's wonderful, man. We love it. Like I said, even now, whenever we're in a car or something, we still always listen to ICRT. It's nice. I love it. Yeah.
I liked how your wife could actually sing the ICRT jingle.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah.
So funny. Yes. But what I want to talk a little bit more about you, man. I would like to go a little bit further back to the beginning. What got you interested in becoming a radio DJ?
Well, I think when I was a kid, I started using walkie-talkies and then got into Citizens Band radio, and from Citizens Band graduated into ham radio. I learned how to do Morse code, da-di-da-di-da-da-di-da. Awesome. I still can remember some of that stuff. Yeah. So cool. Eddie is E would be dit, D is da di dit da di dit dit da di dit. There's Eddie.
Really?
Morse code. Yeah.
Right. So cool.
Anyways, started messing around with ham radio, and then discovered that if you add music to a broadcast, it can sound more fun.
Of course.
So I had a wire recorder, not a tape recorder, but a Sears and Roebuck wire recorder that my dad gave me, and I would borrow songs. Borrow is not the right word. Steal. I would steal songs.
There you go. Yeah.
From a local FM station and put those on the wire recorder, and then splice my voice between the songs. So I was doing a radio show, and I would play that radio show while I was out delivering my newspapers, because I had a paper route at that time, and I had a little printing press. So I printed little pieces of paper that I put into the newspapers and said, listen to me on the radio at such and such a frequency. And I was broadcasting at 1190 on the AM dial. But awesome. Eddie, the problem was this. I only had like 45 watts. So 45 watts will only go so far. I mean, it covered the subdivision where I was delivering my newspapers, but I wanted it to go out a little bit further. So I figured out how to wrap my antenna wire around the telephone in our home and used alligator clips. So I was using the entire city's telephones system as my antenna. So it was broadcasting all over the city and all over everybody's telephone, and people were complaining like crazy. And well, we got a knock on the door. The telephone company told us to quit doing that immediately. And my dad was like, son, what are you doing? I said, I'm just playing with my radio, Dad.
I love that because, you just fiddling around with stuff, parts and stuff, and just getting it to the level like that. That's pretty incredible, man. I love that. Yeah, very cool story. So that was the beginnings to Kamasami Kong. Yeah.
Now I was using my real name back then, which is it's a strange name, Bob Zix. And anyway, I was on a radio station in my hometown of Hamilton, Ohio. It was what was it? The frequency was 1450 on the AM dial.
Okay.
And I had a show. A gentleman by the name of Roger Kay allowed me to go on the radio there with Phil Bullio, who was the son of the engineer, the chief engineer of the station. So I wound up getting I think it was a Sunday show, and I would sing, "You're listening to Zixie on 14500 from 3 to 6 on your radio," something like that.
Nice.
But I was a kid. I was 14 years old, and I had my own real radio show.
That's amazing.
And I was getting paid, Eddie. I was getting paid.
I love it. Making the big bucks, I'm sure.
The big bucks, yes. How much did I make back then? Per hour. Hold your breath. $1.25 per hour. Per hour. I was rolling in the bucks.
Wow, making that big money, yeah.
Yeah, 3-hour show, and after taxes, I think I made about $3.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that's unbelievable. Yeah, but you've got to have the passion, right? If you like if you're making $3, but you're still out there, you're blasting away for 3 hours, and that's humble beginnings to what you are now. I mean, even when you talk, it just sounds like radio boomy voice. It's fantastic, man. I love it.
Well, you got a great voice too.
Wow. Thank you.
Well, people always tell me I have a really good face for radio.
I love it. That's a good one. Yeah. I've heard that the radio, the face is good for radio joke. That's a beauty. I love it. I love that one. That's a good one, man. So you started as a kid, right?
Yep.
Well, when was the opportunity for you to take that step to become like, okay, boom, I'm an official, maybe like in studio DJ?
Well, from the time I was about 15 years old, I was doing a regular show in Hamilton, Ohio on WMOH with my friend Philip Bulio and Roger Kay. They're listening to this right now in Ohio, I know. And then I became like the high school reporter. So I had a program every Monday night. So I had my own show on Sunday afternoons. And then on Monday nights, I was the high school reporter for another DJ. And one thing led to another. And I moved on to a university station in Oxford, Ohio, called WOXR. And I became the program director of that station, which didn't mean much of anything because I don't think there were any other DJs on that station, but it was a very humble station. I forgot the frequency, but I don't think you could hear it outside of Oxford, Ohio, which is the home of Miami University, where I attended school and studied broadcasting at Miami University. But before I could finish, there was this thing called the Vietnam War going on at that time. And my number came up. You know, they put all the birthdays in a big tumbler inside little capsules, and they pull the capsule out and they'd read the date, the birthday, like, you know, January 15th. If you were born on January 15th, you need to report to the post office tomorrow. The next 6 numbers we pull, you need to go to the post office right away. And my number, December 21st, was like number 5. So
how was that feeling, man? You were like, you're almost out the next 5 numbers and you're like, just one left. And
yeah.
That must have been a roller coaster.
Well, I received, I forgot what it was. It was some kind of a classification from the military. And they told me to go to the post office on such and such a date, and you'll have a physical examination, and then we'll give you a haircut and ship you off. It was something like that.
Did they do the whole head buzzer sort of haircut like they did to Elvis and all that, and all in like the movies?
I'll get to that, but first I should mention, I should mention that on the day I was supposed to go in, you know, you had to be at the post office. They wanted you there at 9 a.m. So the night before, I thought, what I'm going to do is get really, really completely messed up so that when I show up the next day, I'm going to look like a mess. So I was drinking some whiskey. I took some X-Lax. Back in those days, we would use speed. We used some kind of a chemical to get hyper. And so I took all of this stuff and I thought, I am really messed up now. I can't wait till I show up at the post office. They're going to say reject.
Yeah. Unfit for service. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I was going for. But the next morning when I woke up, turned on the radio just to hear about the music, opened the door, and there was snow. There must have been 12 inches of snow. So on the radio, they were saying, this is canceled. This is canceled. Schools are canceled. Everything at the post office is canceled. And I thought, oh my God, I'm so messed up now. I'm in perfect condition to go for the physical, and I can't do this to myself again. So, next day I went in, I had the physical, and before I knew it, they had us in an airplane, shipped us off to Fort Leonard Wood. And that's where we got into the barber chair. And gentle barber said, would you like to tell me how you would like to have your hair cut? I said, oh, sure, just a little off the top and leave some on the sides. He said, okay, sure, got it. It was all gone.
It was a joke for him too. How would you like your hair done, sir? Yeah, I love it.
I'm sure he used that joke over and over again.
That's hilarious.
Many times.
Beautiful, man.
But the good thing, go ahead. The good thing is I went through basic training. I learned how to be a killer, how to fire a weapon. You don't call it a gun. A gun is for fun or something like that. I forgot. Learned how to lob grenades and everything else. Use a bayonet. I was a trained killer because, you know, back then they were saying you were drafted. You're going to be a body for bullets. You're going to Vietnam. You probably come home in a bag. Bodies for bullets.
My God.
But I guess there were 500 of us in my platoon or my area. That I can't remember what it was called, but there were like 500 of us sitting on the floor in like a basketball court, and they were calling out names. And they got to my name and they said, you are going to be going to, what is this? You're going to be going to do some kind of fancy footwork, some kind of microphone work in Korea. You're going to be going to Korea. All these other good boys are going to Vietnam, and you are going to Korea to be a radio DJ. I can't believe that. That's what the sergeant said, something like that. I don't know if I sounded like the sergeant, but
wow.
Obviously.
Wow. So they knew your history. They knew your experience, or they was random. What do you think? That couldn't be random.
No, it was not random because
okay.
Shortly after we got our buzz cut, we were being interviewed by some other guys who were trying to find out if we could fold boxes or fold towels, or if we could shoot guns, what we were good at. And they, of course, asked, what can you do? And I said, I've been involved in radio since I was 14. And that's how I got that gig in Korea at AFKN.
That's unbelievable. And you, I hate to say it, but dodged a bullet, like that is unbelievable. That is
absolutely.
Holy, that's scary and unbelievable. Wow.
My dad said that you fell in a bucket of crap and you came out smelling like a rose.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Shoot. So you're in Korea?
Yeah.
Right? Tell me about that. How long did you end up staying in Korea?
Well, I was only supposed to be there for, I think, 9 months.
Okay.
But while I was in Korea, I was having a good time in Korea.
Yeah,
actually,
nice
I had a great time. I met some wonderful people, singers, entertainers. One really good friend, Lee Jang-hee, who was a radio DJ and a folk singer. And we became really good friends. And he taught me a lot about Korea. We went out having Korean food all the time.
Yeah.
Drinking Korean beer and
of course
dating Korean girls and just having a wonderful time.
May I ask quickly, how old were you at that time?
I was probably, I was about
early 20s.
20. I was 20, early 20s. Yeah, early 20s.
Okay.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Okay.
Yeah,
so you're in Korea, early 20s, beautiful woman, good beer, good food.
Yeah.
Almost like a dream gig, right?
Yeah.
It's like you're international DJ.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You're an international DJ.
I had several regular programs on the radio in Korea. I did a television newscast. I had a dance party show for a while. And then it came time for me to what they call ETS. I don't know what it stands for.
Okay.
But it means you're getting out of the service. So you can go back home to your life in Ohio. Mm-hmm. And I thought, I'm having a pretty good time over here.
Yes.
Do I want to go home now? And they said, well, you're going to have to decide. You can go home now or you can re-up. And if you re-up, it's for a minimum of 3 years. Are you ready to re-up for 3 years? And I was like, yeah, I am. I'm ready. I'm having a great time. I don't want to go back.
Of course.
Seoul, Korea is definitely where it's happening. There was so much going on. And that was before they had their subway system in Seoul. It was amazing. Anyway, so I decided to stay.
Beautiful, man. So you stayed there for 3 more years, Seoul, Korea.
Probably 2.5 more years. And then they sent me back to the U.S. to finish my service. And they sent me to a place called, in Monterey, Fort Ord, California.
Okay.
So I finished my military service there. But while I was in Fort Ord, my job was to entertain troops that had been wounded in Vietnam. So they were in the hospital on some of the upper floors.
Wow.
And they had a little radio station that was basically a PA system. And they wanted me to do a radio show to entertain the troops. And it was like, it was crazy. I mean, there were no turntables.
Yeah. How tough was that? Sorry, go ahead.
I mean, it was crazy. I mean, it was like, what's the use? I mean, they could listen to any radio station they wanted to in the San Francisco area. So anyway, the sergeant in charge just kind of let me off and said, you do whatever you want. So I just go in there and I'd sleep during the day. And then at nighttime, I had a job at a local radio station in Monterey called KMBY. And I was broadcasting a nightly show from 7 until midnight on KMBY radio.
Okay. Wow. That's beautiful, man. So you're back in the States.
Back in the States.
You had your international experience already, right?
Mm-hmm.
Was there a point, or had you already passed the point where you were like, okay, radio DJ, this is what I'm doing for with my life?
You know, that's a good question, Eddie. I don't know when I decided to make it my life's work, but you know, I just kept getting jobs. I kept getting offers from various people. From KMBY, I got an offer to work for a station in Oregon. I took that. I moved to Oregon, and it was a little too wet and rainy for me in Eugene, Oregon, and the radio station was not what I really wanted to do. They were playing oldies but goodies, and I wasn't into oldies but goodies. And disco music just started to break about that time. There was a song called The Bump. I don't know if you remember The Bump. That was a crazy song. Yeah. And people used to do this dance where they would bump their asses together and they'd do the bump dance.
Okay.
But while they're in Eugene, one of our salespeople had the great idea to sell a promotion to a truck stop off the expressway in Eugene. And so he told them that I was a disco DJ, which I really was not. So they decided that I should be playing disco music for all the truck drivers that stopped in to have their dinner.
Okay.
So the salesman talked the owner into doing this. He said it would be a lot of fun. It was the worst thing ever. It was a huge disaster. So they set me up in the cafeteria area, and there was a bar over to the side. All the truck drivers were, you know, kind of hunched over their drink and drinking and giving side eyes to me like, what the hell are you doing over there playing that funky music? We don't want no funky music in here. And the owner of the place came over and he told me, turn it up, turn the volume up, make it louder. So I turned it up, and the more I turned it up, the more angry those guys seemed to be. He said, you got to get the people dancing. You got to get them dancing. I said, I don't think these guys want to dance.
The big old truck drivers,
Yeah, this is not a good idea. Anyway, I turned it up as he instructed. The end of the night, I went out to get into my little yellow Volkswagen, and the wheels were off. All of the wheels were off. Of course.
Oh man, of course.
The truck drivers knew how to teach me a lesson.
Yeah.
And so I never went back out there to do another disco night at a truck stop ever again. That's a bad idea. So if anybody ever tells you to do that, don't do it.
Don't do it. Okay. No. So that's a life lesson right there. Don't play disco for the truck drivers. Yeah.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
That's funny, man. So from this area, from, you know, you're kind of going all over the States. This is kind of like, this is your gig now, right? So from there, how did you make the jump to like Japan? Was it because you were already like familiar, like, oh, I really like Asia, let's try another country? Or how did the jump to Japan happen?
Well, actually, before Japan, I went to Hawaii.
That's right.
While working in Eugene, I was reading Billboard magazine one day. That was one of the industry magazines. And there was an ad in there by Lan Roberts. And it said, how would you like to live and work in the most beautiful place in the world, Honolulu, Hawaii? And I thought, absolutely. Yeah, I want to get that job. How do I get it? So I put together a demonstration tape, what they call an audition reel, an audition tape. And I went to the post office to get the required postage. And I also stopped at a stamp collector store. And I bought a whole bunch of foreign stamps, really cheap, but I put those on the package because I wanted my package to really stand out. Smart. Of course, I had the real postage on there, the U.S. postage from Oregon to Hawaii, but I needed the other stamps to dress it up a little bit. And of course, it worked. He opened that one first, And he said, how soon can you come over here? I said, I don't
Wow.
know. When do you need me? He said, next Sunday. Can you get over by next Sunday? And I was like, whoa,
Nice.
let me talk with my wife about that. Maybe I can do that. So we dropped everything
Yeah.
and put the car on a boat, and we bought tickets to Honolulu.
Wow.
And on the way from I think from San Francisco to Honolulu, I stopped smoking. Back in those days, you could actually smoke on the plane, right?
Yeah, I remember that as a kid. There was smoking. There was no smoking sections or whatever. It was just people were smoking. Yeah, yeah, I
And there
remember.
were ashtrays. There were ashtrays
Yeah,
within
I
the
remember
in the
that.
seats.
Mm-hmm.
And I was smoking along, and I thought, I'm going to be moving to Honolulu. Blue skies, white puffy clouds, fresh air every day. I got to get rid of these cigarettes. I'm not going to smoke anymore.
Okay.
Because usually, when you try to quit smoking, you say, I'll finish smoking as soon as I finish this pack, and that'll be the end. Right. But when you finish the pack, you're always stressed out and you need another cigarette, just one more cigarette. That's all.
Just
And
one more.
so I decided there are maybe 15 cigarettes left in this pack. I can either smoke them and burn them myself, or I can rip them up and destroy them that way. Either way, the cigarettes are going to be destroyed. I'm going to smoke them, or I'm going to rip them up. And I thought, that's it. I'm going to rip them up. And as I ripped them up, it was just a cathartic experience, and I was able to stop smoking at that point.
So you just cold turkey stop.
Cold turkey during the flight from San Francisco to Honolulu. That was the end.
That's pretty impressive because long flight, right? Usually that's when I have friends that smoke, and when they take the long sort of cross country flights, that's when they're kind of stressed because they're like, you can't really get a cigarette. And that's when sometimes people will sneak into the bathroom and smoke in the bathroom and stuff like that. Yeah. So that's pretty impressive, man. Wow.
Well, that was the end. And I've never smoked cigarettes again.
Beautiful.
But in Hawaii, you didn't smoke cigarettes. Nobody smoked cigarettes. Some people smoked cigarettes. There were other smoking materials that were being passed around in Hawaii.
A little better than cigarettes, I'm sure. Yeah. So you're in Hawaii, right? Yep. You're in Hawaii. You've got this like almost dream gig, and you were like, I would say mid-20s, something like that.
Yeah, I was about 22, 23 years old. Oh, no, I had to be. Yeah, around 24 years old, I guess.
Living in paradise, dream gig. All right, so tell me a little bit about that, about the dream gig in Hawaii.
I got a gig at KORL radio. I was there with my wife and my daughter, and we had a nice apartment. And I was doing a nightly radio show. And I didn't know exactly what to do. I was using my real name still at that time.
Gotcha.
And the program director said, your real name is no good for the radio. You need to change your name to something else. And I said, what's that? And he said, from tomorrow, you will be Jack Stone.
Jack Stone.
What do you think, Ed?
It's definitely a unique name, man. Jack Stone sounds very, very like a Hollywood, like I don't know. It sounds like a couple different things, man. But
it sounds like a porno name.
It does.
Sounds like the name of a porno star.
Yeah, it does. It does. That's kind of it's very unique. I don't know where he came up with that. So you were Jack Stone then?
No, I decided. I said I'm not going to take that name. I always wanted to have a name that would be the sound of something, automatopoeia, like cliff, clap, ding, dong, Bill, bell, seesaw. I thought seesaw would have been fun. But then I started listening to a sound effect record, and I came across the sound of a gong. Gong. Okay. And I thought, gong could be good for Hawaii because we have so many ethnic people there. We have people from Japan, from Filipino, from Philippines, from Korea, from China, from all over the place. So gong might be that could work. So I went on the air that night and I hit the gong and I said, I call myself Gong. Gong. And so I was gong throughout the night. And in radio stations back in those days, we would take a lot of requests. We had maybe 6 or 7 telephone lines, and you just push them. Hi, this is Coral. What do you want to hear? And the kid would say, "Oh, you can play my favorite song," because they would speak in pidgin English in Hawaii, right? And so you go down the line, and I came to one phone call, and the little girl says, "Hey, bro, what's your name?" Which in pidgin English is, "Excuse me, sir, what is your name?" And I said quickly, "I call myself Kong. I call myself Gong."
Yeah.
I was just in a hurry, and I said it really quick. I call myself Kong. And she said, Kamasami Kong. And I thought, oh my God.
Ding. Yeah.
That's it. Kamasami Kong. What a name.
That's a name.
And, yeah. And it just kind of stuck.
That's amazing. Because the first, like I was saying, the first time I heard that, I thought that it was a Japanese name, and because you were in Japan, you sort of adopted a Japanese alter ego that you called Kamasami Kong. But it's great to hear that you went before Japan. You had this name.
Yeah, before going to Japan, but it seemed to fit because it did sound Japanese. But I was not Japanese, but with the Kong, again, it could work into other countries as well. So I thought, okay, I'll be Kamasami Kong. And I played a lot of funky music on the radio in those days. And so here I was, this white guy playing funky music with the name Kamasami Kong. And people, when I finally got a TV show, said, "Nah, brother, for real kind, you the guy, you Kamasami Kong." "Oh, bro, I thought you was one big Hawaiian dude, bro. You the kind, skinny little howly boy." Like that.
That's hilarious.
So,
we got to quickly cut you off there. We got a Gary
Sure.
Smoke sending a live message here. "Hey Bobby, how you doing? I loved your ICRT show." Gary Smoke, how you doing, Gary? Yeah, Gary's a TMU legend as well. Yeah,
I've known Gary for a long time. Hi, Gary. And he was taking part in Tony's contest the other day. Was it Tony's contest or Rick Monday's contest?
Okay, they're all tight. They're all quite tight. So I would
they're all tight,
one or the other. Yeah.
Gary Smoke. We've enjoyed hanging out many times, many years ago, probably in Tianmu or up on the mountain in Yangmingshan.
Awesome, really cool, man. I love that. Yeah, shout out Gary Smoke. Thanks for the comment.
Gary Smoke, thank you, brother.
So, man, you're there. You're in Hawaii. You've got it. You've got the name. What made you take the leap from sort of the dream gig, right? I mean, Hawaii, that's basically paradise, right? Living in paradise. And then say, I'm taking the jump. I'm going to Japan.
Well,
go ahead.
It happened in increments because, back in those days, radio in Japan was very square, as they do in that Quentin Tarantino Pulp Fiction. They did that little square thing. It was very square. And basically, when the song was ending in Japan, they would let it fade out all the way to where there was no sound at all. And then the DJ would talk. And then he would announce or talk for a few minutes and announce the next song and start that song from the beginning. But what I was doing in Hawaii was something called forward momentum. It's a rather famous tool in programming to make it sound like the music doesn't stop. So as one song is fading out, you start the next song and you talk over the lip, just over the edge of that song, but you keep your voice EQ'd so that you're not louder than the singer of the song. So it seems like the music just continues, but you're still hearing what the DJ is saying without the DJ getting in the way. And back in those days, Hawaii was that was the golden spot for people from Japan to visit. So we had lots of visitors, and they were recording my show on their cassette recorders, taking those shows back to Japan, duplicating them, and giving them to their friends. So everybody could have the Kamasami Kong show in their car.
Okay.
And then this company came along called CBS Sony, and they said, Kamasami Kong, we want you to record an album called DJ in Hawaii. That's what I'm reaching for right now. I'm just trying to see if I can find it. And
DJ in Hawaii.
DJ in Hawaii. This is
gosh. Look at that. That's a beauty.
It's a little bit used, but you can see
Whoa.
Yeah.
The vinyl,
And
man. Beautiful.
vinyl, yeah, back in the day.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can see this, but down here you can see Tony Taylor.
Yeah. Oh, shoot. Okay. Yeah, that's right.
Tony
Wow.
was in Hawaii at that time, and he was on KIKI.
Gotcha. Okay.
And that's me just above him right
Oh, I
there
love it. I love the 70s hair, man. It's
at
beautiful.
KKUA. Yeah. And
Unbelievable.
so we made this album, and this was one of many that we made along the way.
Very cool.
DJ in Hawaii. And then their concept, CBS Sony's concept, was to not only to sell the record, but to sell turntables and a mixer and a cassette recorder. So young men or young people in Japan could mix my voice together with their own choice of music and create their own tapes. So that was the concept. So I don't know. I think we did maybe 10 of those albums. And then I did an album with Tatsuro Yamashita, who is still one of the biggest hit makers in Japan.
Okay. Wow.
He is the king of what they call city pop music, and he's made some of the best songs of all time. I would encourage you to check his music out. Tatsuro Yamashita. You can find him on YouTube. It's easy enough.
Okay, beautiful. We'll do. Anyway, check that out.
Anyway, we went on to do other albums like Pacific Paradise. This is another one that I did.
That's a cool album cover as well. I like that. It's very Hawaii.
My friend and manager at that time, Nick Kato, took all the pictures. I don't know. That's me right there. It's another one of those weird haircuts.
I love those old haircuts, man. Those are the best. Yeah.
And this project came together with bumper stickers and all kinds of other paraphernalia that was inside the package. And it was produced by my corporation, Nikong Enterprises Incorporated. Oh, wow. It includes bumper stickers. Oh, maybe you can see this. This is what was in the package.
Oh, wow. That's really cool. Yes. Very cool. Very, very cool.
So it was a full-on package, and I did several albums with that. And then I've done many more along the way. Created my own album here featuring some Hawaii singers and songwriters.
Some Hawaiian talent in there. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Very cool. Very nice, man.
And
I love it.
Henry Capono, DJ Pratt, Gaylord Holamalia, Kata Maduli. Yeah, all the boys back then. We were creating some real rock and roll. One of the songs got picked up by, I forgot the name of the company, but there was a coffee drink called Kona Winds.
Okay.
And Henry Capono wrote a song for Kona Winds, and it was on that album. And we made enough money to be able to make a full album.
Nice. That's awesome, bro. That's really cool.
This is one of the albums I did from the talent show. Tia Carrere participated in this talent show. I can tell you that. It was called Brown Bags to Stardom. We went out to every high school in Hawaii, and we held a talent show. And then we brought the tapes back to the studio. And yours truly, Tony Taylor, produced those talent shows and turned them into what sounded like a really big, well-produced radio program.
That's awesome.
And it went on from being a high school talent show. The winner at each high school, we invited them to come into a real studio and recorded their song. And then we played those songs on the radio to make them a hit. And we were playing their songs, these, high schooler songs between Earth, Wind and Fire, Kool and the Gang, Cyndi Lauper, Michael Jackson. So they were being heard a lot.
Wow.
And they all became big. They all became big stars. And so then we decided to have a finals competition, and we got the Waikiki Shell through the help of Tom Moffat, who was a major concert promoter in Hawaii at that time. And he helped us. It's now called the Tom Moffat Waikiki Shell. That's how popular he was.
Okay.
And anyway, he helped us set up a talent show there. And the local TV station, KGMB TV, said that they wanted to have the rights to broadcast it. So we got all of my DJs. I got everybody into a tuxedo as they were being MCs. Each DJ could introduce one of the 19 acts that was about to show up, and we did that for 4 years. It was hugely successful.
Wow.
Glenn Medeiros, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry. No, go ahead, brother. You're good. I'm just saying that's amazing. I'm just in awe here.
Glenn Medeiros had a big hit with a song called "Never Gonna Change My Love for You." He did a cover of the George Benson song, and he had a big hit with that. And then, as I mentioned, Tia Carrere.
Let me pull that up while you're mentioning that. Yes.
Oh my God. Oh, you've got that. That's Tia Carrere when she was just out of high school, and she was visiting me at the radio station with those crazy glasses. Oh God, I'm glad I lost those glasses.
I like them.
I don't know what time it was, but it looks like in the back, if you look out the window, you can actually see Diamond Head from our KIKI studios in downtown Honolulu. But that's Tia, just before she became a huge star. She won the talent competition, Brown Bags talent competition from her high school. I think it was Maryknoll. I think that's where she was. And she was in competition with the boys from St. Louis. And she sang an Air Supply song. I think it was "Here I Am, the One That You Love." She knocked it out of the park, and she was the winner. She was a big winner.
That's amazing. I love and so this was, I mean, getting to, at that time, I guess you didn't know that she was going to be a big star, but or did you have the kind of that vibe? Or like, okay, she's going to be something.
Well, I mean, it was pretty obvious just from watching her that she was a very talented young lady. We had no idea that she would go on to be, as big as The Rock, or, I mean, she was the girl in that, what was it? What was the movie with
Wayne's World?
We're at Wayne's World.
Yeah.
The Babe. Cassandra. She was the Babe.
Yeah.
And it was like, when that movie was on, we were all saying, I know this girl. I know this girl.
So good. I love that movie.
She did great. And she was in some other movies with Arnold Schwarzenegger. She did great.
That's right. Yeah.
True Lies. She was in True Lies. And she's been in
the top of Hollywood for a long time, right?
Yeah. She's still an A-lister. I'm sure we'll see her in more movies in the future. Meantime, she's having fun putting up little things in Facebook. I see her videos all the time. I guess she's on vacation right now.
Okay.
But, yeah, she's cool. She's putting up videos all the time.
Awesome. Got to keep the socials moving, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Since we pulled up the picture, let's pull up a couple of other pictures.
Oh, sure.
And then you can tell me a little bit about the picture. So let's start with this one. So you can, I'll let you take
my friend from Canada, just like you.
Yeah, man.
Alanis Morissette. This was backstage just after one of her concerts. And I think she was asking me a few questions about where's a good place to go to eat after the show or something like that.
Yeah.
And just a very simple little conversation. And somebody snapped this shot.
That's so cool. It's crazy because people don't really realize. I mean, she's there. She's this superstar, but then she's going and she's like, I'm hungry, actually. I mean, is there a good place to eat around here? It's like everybody's normal people, right?
Exactly.
That's amazing. I love that. Yeah.
Eddie, something I got to say at this point, and that is the bigger they are, the nicer they are.
Okay.
I mean, all the biggest stars. One that I was so impressed with was Vanessa Williams. I don't think I sent you her picture.
No, I didn't get that one.
She came over. I'll send that one to you later. She came over for her concerts at Billboard Live. But my friend, just around that same time, had opened up a new kind of cookie store on Chocolate Street in Ginza. So he had a chocolate chip cookie store. Now, not only is he a a baker, but he's also a drummer. He's the drummer for Nile Rodgers. Nile Rodgers, of course, the guy who gave us the big hit, "Aw, Freak Out."
Okay.
You know that song,
Ding,
right?
ding, 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 freak out. Yeah.
Yeah, that was his thing. And Ralph was the drummer for that group. He opened the chocolate chip cookie shop, and he invited Vanessa to come for chocolate chip cookies, waffles, and chicken. So she was so sweet, so kind. She came in and she was just the nicest person. She cooperated. She sat down for an interview. She enjoyed the chicken and waffles. And then she invited me to her show at Billboard Live later that night and
Wow.
invited me to hang out with her in the dressing room. And
That's
so
amazing.
we spent a real nice time. I just got to say, she was really wonderful. And that's an example. The bigger they are, usually, the nicer they are, but the harder they are to get to.
Yeah,
right?
that makes sense. Yeah. I can imagine that. I mean, you send me, quite a few pictures, and it's hard to pick, from that list because there's some amazing ones. But since we're talking about Japan, we'll go ahead and we'll bring up this one right here.
Yoko
Ono.
Yoko Ono.
Amazing.
Yeah, that's a picture that wasn't supposed to happen because on the morning of this interview, there were several other reporters who were all waiting in the hotel lobby, and we were each waiting for our turn to go and interview Yoko. I was maybe third in the group, and but before going in, they told us in the lobby, they said, "No pictures, don't ask for any pictures, don't take any pictures of Yoko Ono. Forbidden, strictly forbidden. You can write your stories or you can do your interview for radio, but no pictures." Okay. So guys were coming out one at a time saying, "Oh, we couldn't take a picture and she wouldn't answer our questions," and everybody was grumbling, "Oh, she's such a blah blah blah."
Yeah.
So it was my turn, and at that time I was working at Tokyo FM, a very big station here in Tokyo, and I was together with my director and engineer, and he's setting up the equipment on the table and making all the connections, the microphone connections and everything. And Yoko walks in, and I'm just kind of standing there. She walks in, she looks, and I said, "Oh, hi, Yoko. I love the way you're wearing your necktie. Can you see her necktie there?"
Yeah, let's get a necktie.
She said, "I love the way you're wearing your necktie around your jacket like that. It's so fashionable." And she spoke like 175 million words per second. She was like, "Oh, you like it? I'm 75 years old. I just don't want anybody to think that I've lost my sense of fashion. Before I came here to Tokyo, my friend Keith Haring gave me this necktie, and I thought, well, I'd put it on. You like it? Would you like to take a picture with me?" Like that. And I was like, "Yeah, I'd love to take a picture with you." And my director from Tokyo FM looked up at me, and he's like, "No.
Don't do it.
Don't do it. Not allowed."
Yeah.
And I looked over at her manager, and he's like, "Well, she wants to take a picture. It's her show."
Yeah.
So she said, "Come over here and stand by me. Let's take a picture." So that's how that picture came about. And I got to tell you, she was as sweet as could be during the interview. She answered all the questions and had some beautiful stories to tell along the way.
That's a beautiful one, man. Yeah, Yoko. I mean, like I said, it's hard to choose from these pictures, man. Everybody knows her. I mean, people. Just beautiful, man. I love that.
I wish I had a picture from the interview that I did with Prince, and I don't have one because it was totally forbidden that night. But we spent all night in a nightclub in Osaka.
Really?
Yes, from like midnight until 5:00 in the morning. It was just after his concert at Osaka Joe. And it had to be one of the best concerts I had ever seen. Prince was an amazing musician who could play keyboard, guitar. He could sing, he danced, he did everything. It was fantastic. Wow. But after the concert, he had his manager call our radio station manager, because he wanted to talk to somebody who was in the business.
Sure.
And I was living in the Ritz-Carlton Hotel at that time. And I was back from the concert. I was in my pajamas ready to go to bed.
Yeah.
And the phone rings, and the general manager says, "Prince would like you to join him in the in the nightclub. It was called Triangle Nightclub in Amemura, which is part of Shinsaibashi in Osaka. Okay. So I got in the taxi and I hurried. I went down there, went up to the 6th floor. That was the VIP floor. As you walk into that floor, there's a jacuzzi right in front of you, right? And it was very dark in there. And I walked towards the sofa where I could see all the people. There were some sofas and chairs, lights were low. And this guy stands up and he says, "May I help you?" And I looked like a young boy and it was dark. And I'm looking around. I said, "Yes, I'm here to see." And I looked down and it's Prince. "I'm here to see Prince." He says, "Yes. And depending on how you answer this next question will determine whether or not you're going to be here and spend any time with us this evening." Now, you have to imagine that he was like, I don't know how tall he was, but he didn't have his makeup on. He didn't have his platform shoes on, nothing. And he's telling me that. He's just chilling. He looked like a young boy.
Okay.
Anyway, so he says, "Who makes the music?" And I said, "You do, Prince." And he said, "Come in and have a seat." So
wow, that's amazing.
He was with Maceo Parker at that time. Maceo, of course, from James Brown's band. He performed with Prince that night, and they were having some little argument. I didn't get involved, but yeah,
of course, yeah. Beautiful, man. Speaking of James Brown, I love James Brown, man.
Oh,
that's such a good one. Oh, the Godfather,
the Godfather of soul. Every time he came to Japan, he'd give me a really nice interview. And one of the classic things he did, when you finish the interview, there's a piece of paper. It's a template that'll say something like, "Hi, I'm Eddie, and you're listening to Kamasami Kong on FM 802.
I used to hear that all the time on the radio. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And every radio station has a template that's something like that.
Yeah.
And I gave the paper to James and I said, could you please do this for me? And James said, "I don't need no paper. I don't need no paper. I'm going to do it my own way. Let me show you how to do this." "Hi, this is James Brown, and you're listening to Kamasami Kong on Funky 802. Kamasami, hit the button, and you got to get something. Hit it, Kong. Hit it, hit it, hit it. Ow!"
You could just see him dancing. Get up, get on up. Oh. Yeah, I love him.
Absolutely.
Man. Yeah. I was just, after this picture popped up, I was showing some of his music to my daughter, and she was just like, "Oh!" And then his dancing, he's a great dancer, right?
Well,
that like shuck and jive sort of thing that he would kind of with the feet. Oh man, so good. Incredible.
Absolutely. Bruno Mars. If I can drop a name, I feel like I'm dropping a lot of names here tonight. Hey, anyway,
yeah.
Bruno's uncle, Johnny, was, Bruno grew up in Hawaii, and Johnny told me that he taught Bruno how to dance using 3 people: Michael Jackson, Elvis Presley, and James Brown. He said, if you can mimic those 3 people, you will be a superstar. And of course, Bruno learned how to dance like those 3 guys and more. So you put Elvis, James Brown, and Michael Jackson together, you've got Bruno Mars. You can't prove. I mean, Bruno's concerts are just fantastic too.
He was there recently, right?
In Japan. He was there. Yeah. Check this: 50,000 people each night for 7 nights. 7 nights for Bruno Mars. And hold on here. Maybe.
That's incredible. I love that. Bruno Mars is.
I've got a VIP pass over here.
Oh, wow. So cool.
I can't break it loose. Anyway.
That's okay. It's okay. No problem. Yeah. VIP.
Anyway.
VIP
pass.
Mars. Unbelievable, man. Yeah. So I'm definitely
I should have had all of that.
Bruno, amazing singer. But yeah, Elvis, James Brown, Michael Jackson. That's like the Mount Rushmore. That's amazing, right? I would just rewatch the Elvis movie, the new one. It's seen it a couple times. So good, man. Oh, Elvis is amazing.
I never met Elvis. Sorry to say. I met his daughter.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. When she was here.
Okay.
Now
Yeah.
there's a movie out all about her, right? Priscilla.
Yeah, I never seen that one. Haven't seen that one yet. But yeah, I grew up a pretty big Elvis fan as well. And yeah, like I said, when I do the podcast in the restaurant, we have like the kind of the Elvis mics, and it's just it's really cool. I love it. Elvis, man, big fan.
Yeah. He came over here to Hawaii a lot. His manager, Colonel Tom Parker, was a good friend of the guy that I worked with to put on the shows at the Waikiki Shell, Tom Moffat. So Tom Moffat and Colonel Parker were good friends. And when Elvis came to Hawaii for the first time, he was on the show together with Tom Moffat.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like in the last couple of years, they released a new Elvis movie, right?
Yeah.
And Tom Hanks is the Colonel. He plays the Colonel, right?
Yes,
it's
exactly.
a great movie, man. I seen it before, but I watched it again like a couple days ago because, sometimes you just want to watch something and relax. And that's just such a great movie, man. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a great movie. Tom Hanks did a great job in that movie. And the guy who played Elvis did a great job too, right?
That guy, I can't remember his name, but he's amazing, first of all. But apparently he took like 9 months and he was just getting into the Elvis mode, right? And apparently after he finished filming, he had done it for so long, he was back to his normal self, but he was still talking like Elvis, like he was still in Elvis mode. Like it took him a while to get out of that, which is kind of crazy. Yeah, so good.
Yeah,
I
think it's time.
So good. Go ahead
for some horchata.
Horchata, horchata. Let's pull up. There's so many good ones here. And what else can I put on here? I love James Brown. Let me get who we got here. Oh, this is another massive one. Another massive one right here. Boom. This guy right here.
Sting.
Of course. Yeah, you got to have him.
Yeah. Sting, we had a nice talk about rock and roll heaven.
Okay.
He said that someday he's looking forward to joining all the other musicians in rock and roll heaven. And I asked him if he believed in ghosts. And he said, "Oh, yes, I've seen a ghost." I said, "Really? What's that story?" He said, "Well, I was in bed with my wife in our old house in London. And one night, a woman appeared on the other side of the room, and she was just standing there." And I said, "Well, what did she say? What did she want?" Sting said she didn't really say anything. She just stood there to let us know that she was there. That's all there was to it. I thought, wow, that's pretty wild, Sting. Okay, so you believe in ghosts? He says, "Oh, yeah, absolutely."
Okay.
But then I said, "Do you have a message for all of your fans and your friends here in Japan?" And he came up with a kind of an unusual comment. He said, "Yeah, stop using chopsticks."
What? Oh my gosh.
That's what he said, because you have to know that he is an advocate of save the forests, right?
Okay.
Save the woods. He does.
Okay.
He wants people in Japan to either use metal chopsticks like they use in Korea, or plastic or enamel chopsticks, but basically stop chopping down the trees to make chopsticks.
Those disposable wooden chopsticks. Okay. Okay.
That was his message. Yeah.
That is, I bet that shocked you.
That was a shock. I wasn't ready for that. And then I thought, should I play this on the air? I don't want to, insult anybody, but I thought, well, it's Sting. Those are his words, or not my words. So
that's amazing. Wow.
So I did. Yeah.
Sting. Oh, let me get one more picture in here, man.
Okay.
Before we keep going here. Last one. I gotta have this. Gotta have some of the flavor in there, right?
Oh, some Mexican flavor.
Mexican flavor, yes.
One of the nicest guys I've ever had the pleasure to interview several times. This particular interview of Carlos Santana happened at the Park Hyatt Hotel, the same hotel where they made the movie Lost in Translation with Bill Murray. So we were in the same hotel, courtesy of my friend Kathy. Kathy was the public relations director at this hotel, Kathy Knowles, and she kind of coordinated so I could get together in a room together with Carlos Santana. He gave me a wonderful interview and spoke so highly of his father. And how he appreciated his father. Yeah, it was something that he said he had never talked about much in any other interviews. I have that interview. Maybe I should put it up on SoundCloud or something like that.
Yeah, for sure. People would love that. Yeah, yeah.
And he was really nice. And he remembered that we had met several times before. And the interesting thing about Santana, one of the quick little aside, we were in his dressing room just after a concert at Festival Hall in Japan, and he was getting out of his concert clothes and getting into some really fancy clothes to go out to dinner with the concert promoter and some other people. And wow, he looked really slick. He looked so good. He didn't look like he did in the concert. He didn't look like kind of the hippie musician, but he looked like a really slick multi-millionaire with his really sharp-looking clothes and his pointy toes.
Okay.
Remember him
like some that. Kind of Versace suit or some craziness.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow, that's cool. Okay, that's really cool, man. Man, do you have any like super memorable moments that you can think of that were like, oh, this is like an aha moment for me? I'm feeling like, wow, I am in the right place right now. I made the right decisions. This is the spot for me.
Well, there's so many.
Yeah.
But okay, one that's kind of, well, you decide after I tell you. It was a cold December day, and Earth, Wind, and Fire was here in town, and Kenny G was here.
Ooh.
And I needed to do, in the morning, I did the interview with Kenny G at his hotel. And again, he was staying at the Park Hyatt Hotel. Shout out to our friends at the Park Hyatt. That hotel now is going to close within the next few weeks to upgrade everything. They're going to refurbish the whole hotel. So it'll be worth coming to. It's a plug for the Park Hyatt. They don't need it from me. But anyway, we were, where was I? I forgot what I was talking about.
Kenny G.
Yeah. Kenny G. I think I sent you a picture of him, and we were sitting together
while you're talking about
on the sofa at the Park Hyatt. And anyway, we did the interview, and then later in that day, there's Kenny right there. Later in that day, we were supposed to go to a local television station to do a performance together with Earth, Wind, and Fire. And you can see I'm wearing kind of a gray sweater thing there, nothing fancy, and he's just wearing a shirt. But show up at the television station, he's in his dressing room, and just outside the dressing room, there was kind of a lobby where the members of Earth, Wind, and Fire were all sitting, and I had interviewed them earlier too. Anyway, I walked past Kenny's dressing room, and Kenny looks at me, and he's holding up two different shirts, and he says, what do you think? Should I wear this one or this one for the TV show? Which one do you think is best? And then he looks at me and he says, why am I asking you?
That's hilarious.
And the guys from Earth, Wind, and Fire, they're sitting on the sofa. They heard it too.
Yeah.
And let's see, there was Verdine and Ralph Johnson and one of the other members. Verdine White, the bass player, Ralph Johnson, and one other guy was, Who Sings Reasons? Philip Bailey. Philip Bailey was there. Of course, how could you forget Philip Bailey? So the three of them are sitting there, and they're looking at me, and they're just shaking their heads like, what are you going to say? What a jerk, to say something like that. And Kenny, if you're watching, why am I caring about you? Ooh, what a burn.
Kenny G.
I love you, Kenny. Love you, Kenny.
That's hilarious, man. I love that. Man, I think we could probably go on all day and all night with this, but man, we've done an hour. I think we could probably do a part 2 of this. And then but I would love, maybe I can come to Japan, or maybe if you're coming here.
Sure.
I would love to get you in person, man, because that would be an honor, first of all, and man, I just want to, do you have anything that you want to add before we call it here? I mean,
Well, I do. I want to say thanks to all of your viewers and all of your listeners, and a special thanks to you. And folks, let me tell you why I'm saying a special thanks to Eddie, because this is the second time we've done this interview today. And the reason, Eddie, help me out with this, the reason that we're doing this for the second time is because for the first interview, I scouted out what I thought would be a really quiet place over in Roppongi Hills in a restaurant
Beautiful.
that was set way off in the back, and there were some nice trees in the background, and there were empty tables everywhere. And I thought, this is perfect. 5 minutes before the broadcast, about 6 women came in with their 3-year-old and 5-year-old kids, and they sat down at the table that was just next to us.
Yeah.
And throughout the entire, 45 minutes that we did the interview,
yeah,
those kids were screaming at the top of their lungs, non-stop.
Yeah. It was pretty
painful.
Rough.
it was very, very rough. So
we
that's
were
why
both being pulled out. Like, I'm kind of like, what are we talking about? And you're like, what am I saying? What's going on here? Yeah.
But it was surprising that the mothers just let them run so freely like that.
That was a big surprise. Yeah. Cause I mean, you were like, oh, hey, no, I'm just recording, doing a live podcast here. And they're like, oh, live. Oh, and then just the kids were continuing to scream. And I thought, wow, interesting.
Yeah. It was, I mean, from the time we started recording until the very end, they were screaming the whole time.
Top of the lungs. Yeah. But no problem. I wanted to make sure I felt with that one, even though we had a good interview, the audio was probably not that good.
Yeah,
but,
the audio was
terrible. Were great. The stories were great. And I didn't want to just kind of post that one and be like, Kamasami Kong. This is him, and with screaming kids in the back, because all these pictures and the stories and everything that you've had in your career has just been amazing. And I also want to say before we call, I want to say thank you for, I believe it was when I had Rick Monday on the podcast.
Yeah.
You contacted me and then you started giving me some tips, like mentoring me. Cause I mean, I'm a restaurant guy, I like to watch a few podcasts, and I thought I'm just going to start my own. And it's going pretty good, I think. And you got in touch with me and you started to give me some pointers and some tips and stuff like that. And I just want to say thank you for that. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. You're on now episode 245. Did I hear you say that?
Yeah, 245. Yeah.
Congratulations. I want to do a quick shout out to Joe Chang, who's listening right now, to Deborah Chang, to Xiao Yi and Joy. And I also want to say hello to Ding Yu, and all the people at ICRT, all my brothers and sisters in broadcasting. And that would be Sally A, watching in San Francisco right now. Nice. Richie Walker, of course, I think he's probably watching in Bangkok. Tony Taylor, who is the king of Tianmu, still in Tianmu. And right. Rick Monday, who was on your program. And Terry Engel. I've never met Terry, but congratulations to all of you who helped to celebrate the 45th anniversary, the 45th birthday of ICRT, and to Gary Smoke too. Thank you. Thank you for calling in and sending a message. It's good to be in contact. I hope to be able to come back to Taiwan and do a show there. Actually, there's some...
I hope you can, man. Yeah, please do.
Talk about that. I have nothing official to say at this point, but
beautiful. Okay.
Maybe something can be worked out.
You've got that radio pop voice. I love it. When I hear you talk, when you came and when you interviewed us for ICRT, it was awesome because just hearing the voice is just, it sounds, I don't know, it's got that radio host voice. I love that. It's like really nostalgic for me. When I always grew up, when we go out, we'll listen to radio still, but growing up was like everyone, radio was on everywhere all the time. Even, especially in Taiwan for the first, many years that I was here, like we're saying pre-internet, everything was ICRT. So it was amazing. Yeah. And it's my honor to be on. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Eddie. Thanks for having me on. And again, thanks to ICRT for bringing me to Taiwan. And I'm looking forward to coming back again someday. If that can happen.
Hopefully we'll see you soon in person, man. Appreciate it.
I'll be in there. I want to get my taco and horchata and a sip of tequila together.
We got some nice tequila for you, man. Anytime.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right on, brother. Thank you guys for watching the show. Big shout out to my man Kamasami Kong. Appreciate it. Thank you for doing this.
Thank you.
And we'll see you guys next week.